god, this is legitimately funny. Oh, so you have the people in the movie industry trying to copy politics from mainstream, and they're like, oh, you're attacking the experts. Oh, not the experts. The experts are the experts because they're the experts. How dare you attack them, you simpletons? But like, I really love what I see in the movie industry because it's really what's happening in the world, but at a smaller scale. And it doesn't affect anything, so there's less censorship about it. But basically, what's happening in the movie industry is that the enthusiastic press coined the term review bombing. So, review bombing is when actual people, the viewers, the people that pay money and put food on the table for these actors, they don't like a movie. And they may not like the movie because of the story, but they also may not like the movie because of the message or because of the people that are invested into the production. And for some reason, if you give negative review, that is review bombing. Meanwhile, the anointed ones, the official critics, they can dislike a movie because of an actor. Like, for example, even if the movie is made by J.K. Rowling, because of her transphobic views, they can dislike it. That's fine. That's not review bombing, by the way. They can dislike it just because it ends up coming up in the same month with a movie that they're promoting. That's also fine. That's not review bombing, by the way. So the critics can do whatever they want, but the peasant isn't allowed to do anything. So you get like this huge disconnect between the critics and the peasants. Unfortunately, the peasants, number one, are more than the critics. Like, the critics are like a couple of dozens, and the peasants are millions. And secondly, the peasants are the ones that are paying money and putting food on the table for Alice Winter, whoever he is. Right? And the reason this is funny is because there is a huge disconnect between the critics and the public. And I really love when they say, well, movies are subjective, so you can't really criticize them. And if that's the case, why do the critics exist? Why are they being paid? If it's subjective, why do I even care about a site like Rotten Tomatoes? The reality is that movies aren't entirely subjective. I mean, you can pick some objectivity, like, for example, the choreography, the writing, if it's coherent or not, if it makes sense or not, if the acting is convincing or not. Yeah, they have some subjectivity there, but overwhelmingly you can tell bad acting from good acting, because otherwise all actors would cost the same. You wouldn't have an actor that costs more money to hire than another, because it's all subjective. So why do you pay more for one actor than the other? Okay, so let's cut the bullshit and pull our head out of our asses. The reason you have movie reviews, or at least had, is to tell people whether or not they should spend their money to see a movie. Because time and money is important. Most people don't have it. So you need to convince a person, hey, this movie is worth seeing. Trust me, I'm a critic. But now the critics are just, in most cases, the PR arm of the companies. Usually working for the mouse. Haha. So it's literally like the mouse hiring a new PR team, but now it's the critics, and they're the self-anointed ones. And what's even funny is that you have Alex Winter considering them to be like experts. The current targeting of film critics as the enemy of the people would be laughable if it didn't speak to a pervasive, growing contempt for scholarship, expertise, and intellectual critique. Okay, first of all, let's deconstruct, let's dismantle this bullshit. Most film critics do not have scholarship. The overwhelming amount of film critics aren't scholars. Just because they did lesbian dance therapy or whatever doesn't mean that they are entitled to judge movies, or that their judgment of movies is above that of the common pleb. And honestly, if I require some higher judgment in order to appreciate a movie, I'm not going to see it. Because I don't have the money to go to see every movie ever made. So if you can't really tell me in layman's term, to my knowledge, like to my IQ level, if a movie is good or not, if I need to go to a university to fully appreciate a film, I'm not going to go see it. Let the university twats go see that movie. I'm more into something that has some nice tits on the screen and has gratuitous violence. That's what I want to go see. Secondly, expertise. Like, what expertise? The expertise of seeing movies? Again, we're talking about going to the cinema. We're not talking about sending rockets to the moon. You don't need expertise to criticize some movies. Any twat can do it. It blows my mind. So you're telling me that a random peasant can't criticize a movie, but if you take the same random peasant and you give him a job at The Guardian, now he becomes an official critic and all of a sudden he gets enlightenment. He opens the third eye. He reaches nirvana. He attains the state of Buddha. Like, get the fuck out. Intellectual critique. What is this fart sniffing? Intellectual critique. You know, like, not all intellectuals are born equal. It's one thing when you tell me about a mathematician, a physician, a chemist, you know, something that actually requires brain power. Are you making movies for the intellectuals or are you making movies for the public? Because if you're making movies for the intellectuals, just fine. Tell me at the door. You know, I finished university, I finished med school, and I also finished law school. But if the movie is for intellectuals, I'm not going. Seriously, no, I just want the films that I seen in the 90s and in the 80s, the ones that made me happy. You know what I like. Two things. So, unless you have that, I'm not interested in your fart-sniffing movie. And by the way, we're talking about the Don't Look Up movie, and a lot of people are answered because apparently, despite the fact that a lot of people who watched the movie enjoyed it, it didn't actually do well in terms of sales. I can't fathom why, but apparently the movie is about global warming, right? So here's a question. If you're really that concerned about global warming, why would you be working in the movie industry? I mean, is the movie industry essential? No. Does it pollute? Oh, hell yes. Do you know how much carbon the movie industry pollutes? You know, it would be interesting to see a chart on how much CO2 emissions Hollywood has per year. You'd be surprised, you know, how much electricity it's consuming, all the special effects that they're doing, how much CO2 is being released in the atmosphere, and why? What's the point? Why should you? You know, why can't we have a green tax on Hollywood? Tax these fuckers. Make them pay. All of these people are rich. They're actually the wealthy. They're millionaires and billionaires in Hollywood. They should pay the green tax. You know, the same way you would limit how much emissions a slaughterhouse can have, you should also limit how much emissions Hollywood can have. And all of a sudden, you'd see different types of movies, I wager. You'd have movies with a different message if that was the case. If they would actually tax the rich, if they would actually go after the millionaires and billionaires, all of a sudden, all of them would have the Don't Tread on Me flag on Hollywood. Mark my words, it would happen. Anyway, let me know what you guys think, and I'll see you in the comment section. Take care. Oh, and I almost forgot. This is the last video that I upload on 2021 on this channel, so have a happy new year. Thank you so much for all your support during these last couple of years. I can't appreciate you guys enough.